And in the top left-hand side, representing Alpha X and going for a hatch block to start, it is Max Angel Astrea.
I just need to commend our wonderful admin, Sinestro. You assigned Scarlett the red color, which is the correct color to assign her. It's always confusing when you assign Scarlett not red because her name is literally red. So thank you, Sinestro. Doing a great job. Yeah, there's going to be that hatch block. So for those who missed out on the group stages, what happened in the series of Scarlett versus Astrea, both of those players were fighting in the group stages to see who's going to be first seed, who's going to be second seed. And there was actually a pretty big advantage for getting first seed versus second seed. And it was basically your first seed, you don't have to play Neeb in the playoff bracket first round. If you're second seed, you would have to play Neeb. So both of those players definitely probably cared about that a good bit, but at the same time, we saw Astrea doing some very strange, funky builds. He was going for like a fast disruptor drop against Scarlett with like a 6-minute, 30-second third, where he forced out a lot of units from Scarlett, but didn't actually attack, but also didn't really have an economy fell back on. It was just a very strange build that, as you were saying, Katz, even Scarlett herself was a little confused about. I would not be surprised if, like you said, Astrea is going to go in a very different direction this series.
Yeah, so we were commentating that game with I believe it was the Muslim. I'm not quite sure, and we were like, "What the hell is going on here?" Like that, that's not going to work out. And then when we interviewed Scarlett as well, she was just as confused. So yeah, I think that was maybe Max not taking that super seriously, maybe not enough sleep, right? Or maybe just not putting a lot of stock on the group stages and the results as compared to now, which is for everything, right? Like now you're battling for the chance at Valencia and for a date with Neeb in the finals.
And I'm so glad you actually brought that up, because it is important to note Europe top 4 get the flight and hotel paid for to DreamHack Valencia. They get a seed into group stage 3, which is actually very far into the tournament. There's a lot on the line for that top 4 spot. For North America, it's only top 2. This is the match to decide top 2. This is the match to decide who is getting flight and hotel paid for, who is getting a seat to the group stages, and all of that good stuff that comes with it, and who's going to have to enter into Valencia from group stage 1 in the open bracket.
Which is super difficult, right? Like there's a lot of competition in that open stage bracket.
You might have to face Cyril there.
Yeah, you may have to face last time around, Hero got eliminated in the group stage brackets, right? And we thought of him as someone that could have made a deep run or even taken down the tournament. And I mean, we've seen since how good he is, even taking down Cyril himself, if we're making reference to him. So definitely that is a deadly bracket. There is a lot of good players at this stage in StarCraft 2. If you can avoid that bracket, it is very much what you want to do. So this Adept's going to get recalled nicely here, as it doesn't manage to make it into the path blockers, but it is plenty still. Only 2 links are going to get to poke at it. And Astrea does get away with just a little bit of scouting information, forcing out some links, and then manages to tuck the Adept back in.
He is taking up for a 4-gate resonating glaives attack, though, and we'll see how effective this is going to be. Scarlett just still continuing to drone right now. Has an overlord over the natural, but hasn't really gotten anything close to the main base. She is seeing more Adepts being warped in on the front lines. That's going to be a big signal. So we already see Roachhorn being thrown down, additional overlords being made so she can flat out some roaches as those finish up, but War Prism's already make its way across the map, and Astrea's already kind of cleared a little bit of the pathway where Scarlett would normally scout out and see the actual Adepts making their way across the map.
Yeah, this is going to be one more Adept on the side of Astrea than normal. Actually, he only warps in 3. I thought he was going for 4 gates, so there's the next one. So it's going to be 9 instead of 8, but the first 8 are going to go a little bit ahead of the rest. And now he can cancel the shade and just focus on the queens. That's exactly what he's going to do, as the links have already been baited to chase after those shades. So now the Adepts trying to tuck themselves in. A few links are actually going to offer them lives over to the Adepts, as these 2 links are going to be forgiven as well. So nice job from Scarlett. And Astrea here is under a little bit of pressure to push with the other Adepts on the other side, and actually chooses to go for the shades, which is just gonna condemn these Adepts on the high ground to their death. He ends up canceling the shade, because otherwise they would have just straight up died, and saves 3 of them, but not before taking some damage. So that was a little bit more perhaps than Astrea could chew to start this game and this pressure.
So far, even though Astrea has not lost too many Adepts, he's lost 3 of them, and honestly has not accomplished as much as he would normally like to with this. If he loses this 3rd base, that is going to be a pretty big loss. Resident Glaive Adepts not back in time to save it, and that is a massive delay on their third base as a Protoss player in this situation, especially given Scarlett has not really lost any drones, and she did cut workers a little bit earlier, but honestly, she's still doing really well.
She's still doing excellent. And again, I think that Astrea was a little bit overcomplicating things for himself. When he already had found a path, he had already carved a little bit of the defenses of Scarlett, killing 2 queens with those initial adepts, like already killing like 6 lings that had gone a little bit too far forward, but then still chooses to complicate things for himself by taking that War Prism to the main. And now it gets taken down. Those 3 adepts unable to collaborate at the front, and then just having to evacuate. But as he evacuates, he gets hard punished because Scarlett knows she has the fastest units, and as soon as she notices, as soon as she smells weakness and she feels like she's done enough to deal with the attack, she crosses the map faster than you can with those Zerglings and kills that third. And now she's just in a phenomenal position in this game.
This is actually already Scarlett's game to lose. She's taken a fairly sizable lead in this game, and now it is up to Astrea to make something happen despite everything that has been going not his way. The Depths are going to get cornered over the Xel'Naga Watchtower, taking some good trades here in terms of cost efficiency, but still one of the Adepts goes down, other Adepts barely alive. Scarlett is doing nothing but just flooding out units, getting up Roach speed, getting up Baneling speed, and I think her main goal over here is just going to be overpower this push that is inevitably coming here from Astrea. He's got disruptors also coming out behind us, so I do wonder if he's planning to just kind of do a little fake out, pull back for the disruptors, and then go in. For now, he's actually just going to continue to commit.
Yeah, and Scarlett's being overly cautious. I mean, you can barely call this a push from Astrea, right? It's a very few units here that he's going to poke forward with as he shades back, forces out additional units, and then just loads up the Immortal. So at least he had a plan to escape already as he goes in. But yeah, I mean, he was never going to accomplish more than he did. He's lucky to have not traded any units. And now he has a Disruptor. So on defense, that is the best tool that you could possibly have here for the situation. If it connects, it would be huge. It does get 3 Roaches and a couple of Links. That's going to be something. The Shield Battery as well to work with, but there's not really any consistent DPS outside of these Immortals for the Roaches. And at the moment, they're preoccupied focus firing Links. The next Disruptor shot is here, and it needs to be big, but instead, it's not going to be attended to. And that means it's going to fall for free. Astrea falling apart at the seams, and this is looking like Scarlett is going to be able to close out this game, or at least do insane economic damage to continue to maintain her lead. And it's very difficult to imagine that she'll ever let go of it.
Yeah, Astrea unfortunately not able to control that second Disruptor. Is focused on the War Prism Micro with the Immortals, doing a good job of keeping them alive, and I mean taking cost-efficient trades with those 2 units in the War Prism, but at the end of the day, it is just raw numbers that is causing problems. Astrea could clean up everything over here. He actually very well might. Scarlett still has 81 workers and has demolished the economy of Astrea. There's almost nothing mined here at this third base.
Yeah, and the reason Scarlett doesn't win outright is because she went for the drones. And we saw this in her previous series against Astrea too, and in the approach that she took to one of those games where she actually attacks, does massive amounts of damage, and then could have killed Astrea. But then in the interview, I asked her straight up, like, why didn't you just kill him? Like, keep reinforcing when you know you've basically won the game. And she's like, yeah, but if I drone up, then I know for sure that I can't possibly lose. And this feels very much like that situation because Scarlett is miles ahead now.
She really is. At this point, Astrea is looking for some kind of miracle ways to come back in this game. And I will say, as our Lord and Savior M. Canning has taught us many a time, if there is a way you can come back in a game of StarCraft, there are few units as good for it as a Disruptor. Now, are these Disruptors that Astrea is making going to be able to get M. Canning levels of value? I think that is still yet to be seen, but you know, I don't hate it that if you're going to stick it out in here, that is maybe going to be the pathway forward to somehow turn things around.
Yeah, it's a big somehow. However, this looks very dire for Max's.
Oh my God.
Really vile that poor Observer. There's no chance for it, as the Queens were also hurting it, right? So it's not like the Observer could turn around or had anywhere to run. So very cool tactic there from Scarlett to secure it, actually. And yeah, it's Max that has to make something happen. He's at 121 supply. Scarlett's at 179. Probably will wait for Max, not Angel, but supply, and then turn around and just kill Max. Angel,
another Observer.
Supply.
she actually just got the second observer. That's all the observers, and there's not exactly a lot of build time available to be used on that robotic facility right now. Astrea is just focused on trying to create Colossus and trying to create other units. The
cool
fire also now finishing up, by the way.
Yeah, lovely pylons against this many Zerglings. That is going to create a little bit of chokeholds. It's going to make difficult for Scarlett to get on top of these units in the very open map that we're playing on. And it's not useless pylons either. It's pylons that Astrea actually needs for supply at the moment. You know, he's not over making pylons. He's just making all of his pylons at the front. And I like that move because it will aid him in the hold. However, when he loses those pylons, he will also get supply block. But at least he stands a better chance to hold with them than without. So I can understand that. I can see it. I respect it and I like it. What I don't like so much is how long Scarlett is taking and how much space she is giving Max to catch back up. However, she is going for Broodlords eventually. So still very, very difficult to imagine that she has a way to lose this, but not really taking advantage of her timing, so to say. Here comes the Banelings, and Astrea has kind of trapped himself, but actually offers Scarlett a little bit of a way out.
Yeah. Scarlett actually not going to be able to find a lot of the probes because the probes managed to sneak on past those Banelings as Scarlett was a little bit focused on the main army of Astrea poking on forward. Big blink forward, snipes off a couple of Ravagers, and then retreats back home. I kind of in an agreement with you here, Cats, because I think the longer this goes on, Scarlett is basically trying to say, I will have Broodlords, therefore I win. And this does get a little bit scary when you start saying a Protoss player takes a good trade with disruptors to clean up a lot of the ground force enough so that the stalkers can blink forward and start sniping off Broodlords. There's actually becoming more and more ways that Astrea can take a fight versus Scarlett despite her massive advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was in my mind like 98, 99% over or something like that before, now it's gonna be nearing like 92 or 93, you know, and that's not what you want to be going the other way around if you're going to be securing the base, the game. Still extremely likely that Scarlett will end up winning. She has the bank, she has the tech, she has the army. But if Astrea is allowed to max, you know, there's always something that can go array there for Scarlett. There's always an opportunity for her or for Astrea rather to find those Broodlords, as this next will fall without a cancel. And yeah, there's always some semblance of a chance, max versus max army, that you can make it work.
Yeah, max versus max out army. That is very true. Astrea pretty far away from that still. Trying to just grab that fourth base and get an economy back up. It's 13 minutes in. Your main base is not going to be super healthy on mining. Your natural is going to be running a bit dry. So Astrea is going to be in a tough spot for a little bit until he can finally establish a fourth base. But the Broodlords are here, and that is kind of the thing that Scarlett has been waiting for. They're finishing their morphing, and they're already almost on Astrea's side of the map. Is Astrea going to be able to find them? Remember, disruptor shots to try and clean up some of those Banelings and Ravagers on the ground is going to be a big part of this kind of strategy here for Astrea.
Yeah, looks for a blink, got a Broodlord. If he does that like 7 more times, Astrea will be in a good position actually to start this fight. Here comes the rest of the army. Storm is available, lots of Templar as well. Another blink forward is going to snipe actually 3 Broodlords by the looks of it, as Astrea looks to retreat on the back of those Storms, and Scarlett unable to connect with her Banelings. And now all of a sudden Astrea in a slightly better position than when the fight began, as he's going to blink on forward yet again. There is not very much ground on the side of Scarlett, but it's going to be enough as the numbers of Stalkers have now been kind of like chopped down.
Yeah, Colossus actually adding in so much value over here. They're up at 25, 35 kills. A lot of them Broodlings, but they are keeping that Broodling number intact. They're keeping it low enough. So as the Stalkers are going for these snipe-offs on the Broodlords, the Broodling count is being dealt with by the Colossus, and that has been a big part of Astrea being able to take even remotely okay trades over here. But we're starting to see the kind of problematic situation where a lot of the Stalkers have been bleeding off in exchange for sniping off those Broodlords, and now Ultras come forward. Now Scarlett comes forward in multiple angles, and Astrea just doesn't seem like he has enough units right now.
Yeah, and he really doesn't. Scarlett's gonna blink on the bottom of the Broodlords here and try to take him down with the Stalkers, as they suffer losses as well from the Ultras. The Ultras mostly unaccounted for, unopposed, and Scarlett with a massive supply advantage as she connects to 24 workers in her favor now at that third base location. So now Astrea is trying to hang on for dear life, and he will, but he has half of the supply of Scarlett to work with.
Yeah, not a good feeling. I am actually impressed that Astrea held there and is alive. That he, in fact, did not just outright die there, but it is still going to be a very, very difficult spot to come back from, because if you look at the production tab, it's 6 Ultras on the way, 42 Lings, a bunch of Banelings, upgrades coming out for those Ultras, for any of the investors. There's the GG. And Scarlett very one-sidedly defends Astrea's attack, takes game number 1.
And tires him out as well, because I mean, she was in such control of that game after the initial fight, I guess, the initial attack onto Astrea's third, and that did not look close at all, Ravi. And yeah, Astrea's gonna have to readjust and do a little bit better. Again, I think he overcomplicated things with his initial adept move out, and he didn't really gain much in that process.
No, he did not. A little unfortunate there. Astrea going for that 4-gate adept pressure and stuff that really just did not do the damage he was looking for. But also, I think on top of all of it, just losing the Warp Prism, it just opens up the floodgates for what the Zerg player can do. They just have total control. They don't have any fear about needing to leave many units back at home. Scarlett gets to basically be up in Astrea's face with all the units that she made for the defense. Things really started snowballing from there, and it never really recovered for Astrea. He made some good moves, but nothing really ever recovered. That was just a downhill game from the moment that the 4-gate adept pressure didn't do any damage.
Yeah, and it was near impossible from there on. So props to Max, but he's gonna have to step it up. He's gonna have to change things a little bit, and you know, like also that Disruptor just kind of walking into its death when it was kind of like the only way that maybe he could have recovered. Like he just didn't seem on point in that game, right? So let's see if he can readjust. He is in Korea. There's gonna be a little bit of ping working against him, but he has to step it up to give this player a chance, a fight here. As in the bottom left-hand side, it is the Queen of Blades, Scarlett, for the Rebellion.
And up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Protoss player from Alpha X. He is Astrea.
Alphar X.
Alphar X.
Do you know why
Al
the Muslim says
Almira.
Alphar X? Like
Who
he has
does?
an R. The Muslim says Alphar X.
Oh man, well, okay, actually, nope, not gonna go down that route. we already made our jokes about that earlier when we were in the rehearsals. So I'm gonna move on and talk a bit about this next game that's coming on up. No one will ever know what I was thinking in my head.
I actually do not know what you're thinking in your head.
Yep, I don't think anyone does. We're gonna keep it that way.
Alrighty.
Yeah, the Muslim great guy, but
he is, yes. Now you're making it sound like he's not by saying that. You know?
he is a great guy. Oh my god. It was, I don't know if you remember, we were making some jokes about our countries of origin earlier on. Yeah.
Oh, right.
We're gonna skip over that one.
Yeah, it was just
anyways.
It was country based, not person based though.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of wonderful countries, we got our American living in Korea right now, who's been having a good time there. And I have to say, even though obviously that last game has not gone well for Astrea, he is actually still in very good form these days, right? He is good enough that he qualified for GSL. He's going to be playing in the GSL soon. He's also been obviously able to make it this far into the event for DreamHack SC2 Masters. Was pretty much topping his group with everyone outside of Scarlett being beaten. Astrea is in good form, so I still have hope that he's going to be able to turn the series around. It's just that last game was a bad start for him.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope that that's the case, because I would not like to see a one-sided semis here, but and we know that Astrea can step it up, and we know that he is amazing. But he also did drop two games against Disc, and that is to Disc's credit, but it is also, like a little bit surprising. Though Disc also beat Neeb in one of those games, so like maybe it is truly Disc stepping it up, and we will see more from Max here, as he is harvesting 2 adepts pretty fast to start.
Yeah, that's fair. And I actually give a lot of credit to Disc on that. I actually think that it is, in my mind, a lot of Disc actually stepping it up. And especially in PvP, I think Disc is really scary these days. So I'm going to give Astrea a pass on that one. But I think something it will be hard to give Astrea a pass on is if he ends up losing to Scarlett 2-0 in the groups in that kind of one-sided fashion, but loses again over here in this game, this series, and it's like a 3-0 or something. That will be a little bit harder to write off as he heads into, you know, future tournaments and stuff. But we'll see. What's he got planned for us? Pushes back the Overlord, sends the Adepts across the map. We're going to be seeing his game plan sometime in about like the next 60 seconds or so. What kind of tech choices he wants to go for.
All right, it's going to be 2 Adepts currently boosted just to fend off the third for the time being, then a sentry to follow to make sure that the natural is secured. So it's a fast third here on the side of Astrea, kind of an economic opening, as he will follow that through with the Twilight Council, but it is not particularly early.
Yeah, it's not a particularly early one. I do wonder if he's... Okay, he's going to go for the Robo again as well. Do you think he's going to do like a lighter Adept pressure that leads into... Everything glaze off of this? No, there's only 2 gateways, right? You don't.
He might. I mean, he's gonna get something out of the it could be DTs as well defensively. Like I think the world's his oyster here, and it is gonna be a Dark Shrine. It's gonna be 6 Adepts moving to start, and yeah, he's just gonna shade back. So trying to force out units here, trying to apply some pressure, and then the DTs are obviously not gonna be the fastest DTs in the West, but they're this queen doesn't die. He was looking for that queen.
That was a bit of a mistake. He really believed, okay, the shade was about to finish, and he thought, if I just do one more attack, one more volley, I can kill this queen. And then he ended up recalling before he actually got the attack off, unfortunately. I think he wanted to time that out so the attack would go off, and as soon as the projectile was launched, the recall would go off. But it ends up basically wasting the shade and having to do the recall and not getting the queen. Not a great start.
Yeah, still losing 1 Adept as well. But he has been fairly greedy, and there will be DTs on defense, right? The problem for him is that Scarlett has already identified that she is not under any threat early on. She knows what is up, and because of that, she has been able to get a layer up, which means the DTs are not going to be super offensive or super effective on offense, even though there will be a War Prism and possibly an attempt here to surprise from Max Angel. And it is offbeat DTs as well, right? It is a threat that you usually have already washed off and don't think is coming if you're the Zerg player.
Yeah, while of course there is an Overseer, the Overseer is actually on Astrea's side of the map as the Dark Shrine is finished now. And there's no Spore Crawlers right now, Kat. Actually, funny enough, these DTs could have been extremely effective. Yeah,
because they're offbeat, and I think that there's a little harm in trying, but now they're gonna be spotted as obviously the Dark Shrine is gonna be flown over, so that means Scarlett should be ready, but
still nothing starting
she's
though.
Not.
Yeah, there's no Spore Crawlers starting up. There's still no Overseers. DTs are now technically visible, and we see the Lings pulling back, but Scarlett is still not... Okay, there's the Overseer morphing in at the natural, and there's the whole position on the ramp. Really, really like that. Astrea just going to try and sacrifice one of the DTs for some drone damage, and the other DT needs to also... it's not going to run.
I mean, what, gets 1 or 2 drones with those DTs? I think the Stalkers did more work in harassing, and that's again an unprepared Scarlett. But again, a Scarlett that had no real reason to be unprepared because she had already scouted the Dark Shrine. So the DTs maybe shouldn't have even been made in the first place, but they are still made. They get inside, they walk in, they get exactly what they would want, but not able to capitalize off of it. These Adepts, however, are going to get 2 drones to start, make it 3. This is a really nice position 4, and this is the most success that Max has found so far in the series. As those 2 Adepts pick up 5 workers, it is a promising sign.
Absolutely. I think you'd love to be able to get that hatchery as well. Sniping off the 4th base would actually go a long way for him, but it is going to be tough. He still needs to break through the kind of flood of Lings, Roaches, and Ravagers, but it also forces Scarlett into having to defend this exact position. She can't give up any ground whatsoever, because anytime she gives up ground, the Stalkers get to fire another couple of shots off at that hatchery and put an additional timer on her. I don't think that Astrea is actually continuing to reinforce the Stalker count at this angle, though, so...
Oh, what?
Oh man.
Moves into the vials there, stands on them. Scarlett, very smartly, by the way, Ravi has been adding Ravagers only. Ravagers are going to be very good at trading with Stalkers because they actually outrange here, whereas Roaches do get outranged by Stalkers, and so they can get poked at. Lynx also can get shoved over time, so it's very difficult unless you have overwhelming numbers to make sure that you can keep the Stalkers on location and you can immobilize them and you know, like, take them down. But against Ravagers, you can't even just trade straight up because the Ravager is actually going to output more damage than you every time that you overextend. So great job from Scarlett identifying what she's dealing with, and just going heavy into the Ravagers to make sure that she can push that back easily.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely been working out well for her. Little unfortunate. It seems like Astrea, I don't know. It feels like he's making a lot of like uncharacteristic mistakes. Maybe again, just leading into the fact that it's like 7 a.m. for him or something now, and he's been up for probably a long time. But hopefully he's going to be able to try and wake up and play out the rest of the series at like top form, because Scarlett is not someone you can really play when you're not at peak condition. Scarlett is very good at jumping on vulnerabilities and really seizing opportunities, I should say. So she's been doing a good job of that so far. She's going to be going up to that Hive and that Spire yet again. And well, Astrea is definitely in a better position than he was heading into this next stage of the game than he was compared to game number 1. It is still going to be a tough spot.
It is going to be difficult. Scarlett will spot once again the tech of Max in his main, as she's going to walk in some overs here to check things out. On the other side, Max is trying to do something with the Warp Prism, and there isn't too much creep here. He does spot that hatchery, so we'll be able to deny it, I think, with a good solid Warp in, or maybe even DTs. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Ravi. He is going to be in trouble, especially if the Muta come out and make it onto the other side of the map with Astrea just sitting here. Because if he doesn't have Phoenix, if he doesn't spot him, then Blink Stalkers can be all right, but they're not particularly good at chasing those Muta around. The Muta are always going to find space to outpace.
Yeah, it is a temporary measure. It is a stopgap kind of MacGyver solution to just use pure Blink Stalker to deal with that kind of thing if it ends up coming out. But Scarlett may even just be thinking about that greater Spire as we end up seeing Spire and Hive both finishing up. Scarlett, of course, going to be a little bit focused on defending this attack, but the greater Spire does start on up. Astrea gets the cancel out on one of the hatcheries at least, and dodges out of the way of the Crystal Biles, but that's his one disruptor shot that he just used, and not a whole lot else. Baneling's without speed, not great at connecting with his army.
Not particularly great. There is no more force fields available, and there's also that force field. That force field being used means no Guardian Shield until the Sentry recoups its energy. It's close, however. Guardian Shield will be really useful here. But yeah, with Scarlett going for the Greater Spire, going for the Vipers, and none of that being here right now, Max has an opportunity, especially with those Banelings without speed. The next force field gets utilized, and none of those Banelings connect even onto the Stalker. So all of a sudden, it's Max Angel here with a massive army big enough to push Scarlett back to take down this hatchery that he was looking for earlier. Forced Scarlett is to evacuate with her entire army and the Overlords to try to just outright survive. And I mean, Banelings without speed, that is not the way. If speed is now about to finish, and with that, yeah, I mean, it's just not gonna be enough. Scarlett is gonna drop the ball there towards the end of an otherwise well-played game, and Astrea with a big push of fairly basic units, not really like, you know, like not even a lot of sentries with force fields or a lot of tech to it, just straight up Wings of Liberty style Blink Stalker Colossus will be able to close out the game.
Cats, I kind of feel like Astrea was like someone who was about to be arrested. He had handcuffs on him, but then the cop accidentally left the bag of money that was being stolen from the bank in the police car with the keys still left in the ignition. And Astrea just kind of looked around as the cop walked off, jumped to the driver's seat, and drove away with the money. Like, what? That was really odd to watch happen.
I agree. I mean, I agree completely. That was definitely Scarlett's game to lose, I think. I mean, it wasn't like she did a lot to put herself in that position, but she did good enough to defend. And I mean, it didn't really look like Astrea had much of anything. But then Scarlett goes both for all the tech, right? Like she tries to advance very quickly to Vipers. Those Vipers did not have energy. So you have 3 Vipers that are completely useless. You have Hive tech, that means Infestation Pit, Hive, all the time and resources that takes to make, the evolution into the Greater Spire, the resources that takes to make, and nothing to speak of for all of those investments. Plus your Baneling speed is barely not finished. So all of those things coming to play at exactly the perfect time where Max can actually have access to a push that takes advantage of all of those things being incomplete for Scarlett, right? You give her 30 more seconds and she has Baneling speed, she has the Vipers with energy, and she is probably more than ready to stop that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, he definitely stole that game from under her nose.
Yeah. Well, that does give us a tied up series in kind of an odd way, but I think this is honestly a little bit of what I meant, Cats, is that even when we end up having a tied up series, like the games have been a little bit more one-sided. One player is kind of dominating a lot of the pacing for the game and stuff. So I kind of feel like that's unfortunately like a weird nature of when these two face off against each other. That's just kind of what happens. But we do still get to move into game number 3. It's going to be interesting to find out whether or not this man can use a little bit of that momentum from that last game and turn this one in his favor. Can he do it? From Alpha X Esports, he is Astrea.
And in the bottom right-hand side for the Shopify Rebellion, it is the Scarlett Zerg. It's Scarlett. Is this red actually Scarlett? It is Scarlett, right?
No.
No?
I don't think it's actually Scarlett.
Scarlett's like darker?
I mean, if we were just in a normal conversation and not in the middle of commentating a StarCraft event, I would tell you to just Google it. Or like send you an image, because I think that's probably the easiest way for you to see the color Scarlet.
You can tell me the color code. Is it hashtag F0 something?
Will you be able to utilize that? I guess
course.
I could go look that up for you.
No, that's okay, Ravs. All right, we have the probe. It's going to block the natural expansion here of Scarlet. And now scout that there is a pool and a gas going down at the same time. So pretty standard opening here on the side of the Protoss player. And on the side of the Zerg as well. So on this particular map, I've done some testing, and what's going to end up happening more likely than not for anyone that's interested in their own early game CVP is you're going to mine that gas with, I like the mining 2 at a time personally, like Scarlett is doing, up until you have 16 drones worth of saturation, then you saturate it with the third, and then once you've mined 100 gas and over, you want to start transferring drones to your third base, because you're not going to have a lot of use past that point for a while, at least for the gas. So banking it is just kind of useless. You would rather get more minerals so that your economy can continue to explode and you can mine more gas later. However, because the natural is blocked, you're going to have to transfer 4 or 5 workers, and that's going to end up costing you 40 to 50 minerals.
Ah, good to know. And looks like Scarlett agrees with you. By the way, it is FF2400.
FF2400.
Which means it has full red value, a little bit of, green, and then no blue.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking right now. Now that you've told me the color code, it is in my head, and I know what's Scarlett.
I need to call back to the fact that for those who don't know, Cats has done a lot of like graphic design work and stuff. So. Yeah.
Oh, right. For those who don't know, I actually know the color code of every
He's not just memeing.
Color. No, I am just miming. Who would possibly know the color code of every single color, Ravi?
No, you're not just miming. You have it all in your head.
Beautiful move.
Head. Yeah.
All right.
1 kill on that adept already. Actually, finding a drone kill just with a single adept is pretty nice, I've got to say. Astrea does have a stalker that followed this up, so it's actually only the single adept. This is really, really nice amounts of, obviously it's 1 drone kill, but it is really nice to find that. As little victories after a series has not been going your way is important.
Yeah, and the way that it happens as well is promising for Astrea, because that is the Astrea that I know. That is the Astrea that is a championship caliber player. The Astrea that is gonna go into the GSL and bob some heads, like later this week in a couple of days. Because that adept, the way that you pick up that drone is multiple things going right. First of all, you target the right drone, a drone that is difficult to micro, right? A drone that is between cracks and whatnot. And then you tap it in the butt. You get close enough with the adept that the drone cannot morph into a spore because there's no space to do that. So good movement from Astrea and good attention to detail. And it grants him 1 drone, and that's a big deal right now.
So let me ask you something here, Cats. Scarlett looked extremely unprepared for Dark Templar in the last game. Even though, like you were saying, Overseer should have seen it and just there wasn't much reaction. There are going to be some Spore Crawlers this game, but the Spore Crawlers are just starting up, and the Warp Prism is actually already out on the map, so the DTs will hit a lot faster than the previous game. I do wonder, do you think he warps in Adepts, or do you think he warps in DTs right here?
DTs for sure.
Okay.
It will be DTs, because this is all a ruse with the Adepts, right? Because he's sitting at 430. That is more or less where the 4-gate Adept would hit. So the DTs are supposed to be very inconspicuous. They're supposed to be like, hey, gotcha, and you're dead now because you made a bunch of links, you have a roach runner, etc. Scarlett didn't really buy it. Scarlett went for the spores, and that means the DTs are not going to find what they were looking for.
Yeah, I like the pairing with the Observer, stamping out some creep tumors and everything. And I do have to commend Astrea because we've now seen him try to go for like this Dark Shrine. He's been going for this Resonating Glaive, or sorry, the Twilight Council opening also a lot. So a lot of what Astrea is doing is he's trying to play a best of series against Scarlett, which what on earth does that mean, Ravi? Like, of course he's playing a best of series. It's literally what the tournament is. What I mean is game number 1, he opens up Twilight Council, but goes into Resonating Glaives. Game number 2, he goes for a Dark Shrine and also pairs it up with first a lot more Adepts. Game number 3, he does fewer Adepts, but does a faster Dark Shrine. It's like all trying to look similar, make it hard for Scarlett to read him. But despite all that, this has all been a big way of complimenting Scarlett and saying she has not really fallen prey to any of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that is the job that they should be taking. It is oftentimes in the best interest of the Protoss player to stay tricky. You are the race that has, you know, like once you drop the Twilight Archives, once you make your first Stalker, like your tech tree really blooms. You have a lot of options and a lot of ways to go into different tech pathways in a lot of different orders. Like right now we have Astrea now transitioning into Robo and into Charge. He's going to be harassing with Archons. The DT tech was open, but so was Blink, so was Charge, and so was Resonating Glaives early, right? So you have a ton of options no matter what building you open, and you should take advantage of that, and you should remain unpredictable. In my opinion, that's the best way to approach Protoss. And on the Zerg side of things, you need to react, you need to gather whatever information, and you need to make the best decisions that you can based on the information gathered. So both players in that sense strategically playing beautifully, and yeah, Scarlett has been fantastic at reacting. That's all she can do, and she's done a wonderful job of it.
Yeah, she is definitely doing a nice job with it. 22 Banelings on the way in a very aggressive position, Cats. I have a funny feeling that Scarlett is about to do something very, very devastating to Astrea, but she might actually want to pull those Banelings back now, as this attack is going to be hitting her, and she seems a little bit unprepared for it, actually.
Yeah, and she's actually going to split. She's going to go half and half, not really committing to either side. These Banelings are a checkmate move. That means if Scarlett can hold here, she will have killed enough of the economy of Astrea, sort of Astrea killing a lot of workers, that it will be very difficult for Max to recover. However, it is a difficult hold without those Banelings that she just utilized on the other side of the map. So now Scarlett is at peril here to lose this base at the very least. Does Max have reinforcements? He does have the War Prism behind still, and is going to choose to morph extra Archons. I love that decision, because the Immortals are going to output and deal with the Roaches very nicely, and the Archons can really deal with everything else pretty much, especially those circling. So Max still with a very strong push, and he has to make something work here.
Yep. Funny enough, there's also a D tier 2 mixed into this army, as Scarlett doesn't actually have anything besides a Spore Crawler further back to actually detect those. So a little bit extra DPS being added in here and there. Astrea warping in some more Zealots actually with Charge, and is going to be able to actually bully his way into the natural expansion. Scarlett cannot afford to give up yet another base over here. Is this the moment that Astrea is going to be able to turn things around? Reinforcements from the Lings from the other bases getting picked off by the Charge lots. Roaches getting cornered, and these 3 Immortals, the key units in these fights. 16 kills, 20 kills, 13 kills on these Immortals. A lot of them Roaches and Ravagers. That's it.
He did it. What a timing there. And I think you're spot on, Ravi. I mean, Scarlett was getting ready to desecrate Astrea's economy there with those Banelings. But that was such a big investment to not having your army, to not have ready to defend, even from the front, right? So she pulls back with half of it, and that is kind of a sensible decision, because it allows it so that if she holds, she can kind of easily close out the game and win. But she couldn't hold with what she had remaining. And Max, with a beautiful push, with a beautiful army, and a beautiful start as well with the Adept, will take a very convincing and kind of promising game number 3.
Yep, and with that, we're going to be heading to a short break, give these players some time to think about what they want to do with the game number 4, but we'll see you guys in a little bit to conclude Astrea versus Scarlett.
Welcome back. My name is Kat, joined by Robbie, and we are about to watch Scarlett and Astrea go at it on Glittering Ashes, as Astrea actually leads the series 2-1. After a slow start for him, it's been getting better and better, game by game.
Yeah, it definitely has. We've been seeing the last game being the most interesting in terms of actual back and forthness. Game number 2, it was back and forth in the sense that the last 30 seconds were very suddenly jerked in the other direction. But I think that last game was a little bit closer. I'm really hoping game number 4, we're going to get something even closer than the first 3.
A little bit more of a jerking here would be nice, because like that, yeah, that last game also like was kind of good for Scarlett to start.
Yeah.
She deflected the DT aggression, which was a very early commitment, but Astrea still made work with it, which was very impressive. Still managed to pick off all the creep tumors that were outlying, still managed to pick off a queen that went a little bit too far with those DTs, and still managed to pull off a very strong timing attack later on to end the game. So great job there from Max, and also like that adept right at the start, like everything seemed to go in his favor that time around, but Scarlett did a good job to identify what was coming her way, and oftentimes that's half the battle, not however the whole battle, and Max was able to close it out. This game is a little bit more defensive. It might be a good Astrea map as well.
Glittering Ashes, yeah, might be an interesting one to see how this one shakes out, but I guess a lot of it still comes back to me in my mind of Astrea building this story for what the builders and stuff he's going for, consistently opening up with Twilight Council and Robo. How has he followed up? He's shown 3 different variations that all are meant to look similar-ish to Scarlett at the scouting stage when she sends her Overlord in. What happens here in game number 4 now that he's shown 3 different kind of variations of that Twilight Council?
Show a fourth. Is there a fourth to be shown? We'll find out soon enough, as we are all loaded in, and in the bottom right-hand side, it is for Alphar X, Astrea. And up here in the top right-hand side of the map, we have the Red Zerg player. She is Scarlett from Shopify Rebellion. Let me see Overlord for a sec. And I gotta say, Ravi, go. I was just gonna say I'm glad that Astrea got blue, because Astrea, I think, comes from some Greek or Latin word that resembles stars, as I am pretty sure in Spanish it is estrella. Estrella means star, right? So Astrea is probably a starbound name, and stars are associated with the sky, which from the perspective of Earth can seem as though as if it is blue.
I was waiting to see where you went with that, because I was gonna say stars, I think I usually associate them as red. I don't know if you've seen like the images of the sun and stuff. Where is this going, Cats? But I see stars are up behind the sky, so therefore there is an object in front of the stars that is our atmosphere.
Filter,
so it should be blue because it's next to the color blue. There we go. We got there.
We got him. So correct colors here to start. That is a good thing.
Yeah, nice job, Sinestro. I'm glad that you thought through that exact same process as Cats.
Hells yes, Sinestro.
Same conclusion.
My boy.
I'm actually hugely in favor of like having the right colors. Like a Team Liquid player should always be blue, right? Unless there's another Team Liquid player or something, TL player should always be blue. That's like a firm belief for me.
Yeah, that is very, very true. And I mean, Alpha X could be yellow, but there's no, I guess we only do blue and red. What is your take on that? What is the chat's take on that? Do you think the players should be allowed to choose their color here, or do you think blue and red is just the better, more organized way to go about it?
So I will give a little insight to the behind the scenes, as we do. I'll note quickly, we have a Stargate opening. It's not the Twilight Council, but this also means it's going to take a little time to ramp up, but it's different from the previous games.
Yeah.
As I say that, the reason why we do blue and red, in case you are wondering, this actually goes back to a lot of production value stuff, where if you guys haven't noticed, we have little blue camera by Astrea, and look at that little border is blue, but his color in the game is also blue. And it actually goes even beyond that. When you start talking about the live premiere events that we have a stage.
True.
The stage is themed red and blue. it is a lot more difficult to make every single color choice that players could potentially pick work in that case.
That is a very good point.
That's actually a lot of the history for it.
I love it. Yeah. So now I know I will never ask that again, except we could maybe change the colors from season to season, but that is more production work for sure. So this is just going to poke in, try to, cause a little bit of mayhem here as the Oracle is going to be looking. Oh, there's no Oracle follow-up, is there? Just a Void Ray?
Yeah,
okay.
Just the Void Ray, I guess, for now.
Yeah.
We'll see if he actually ends up making anything else out of that. He's still building up some minerals, so maybe he could do something, and there's going to be the Oracle. Yeah. Just want to get that third start up ASAP.
Yeah, a lot of the time here we have Oracle follow-ups to this type of opening, to the type of Stargate opening. It used to be Void Ray all the time, but now we've kind of reverted back to the Oracle after the Void Ray got nerfed. But again, Astrea likes to do things his way, so he is gonna poke around. The advantage of the Void Ray is it gets to clear vision, it gets to kill overlords, and it deters aggression on the side of the Zerg as far as like roaches are concerned and whatnot. Now there are players that like to harass with the Void Ray. It does have more HP to work with and more shields to work with than the Oracle, so it can actually it is more durable than the Oracle in any case, so it can poke into mineral lines and kill a drone sometimes, kind of like an Oracle would, and sustain some damage from the Queen. But now the Void Ray was used to pull the Queens out of position. Scarlett, too smart, will actually spot the Oracle, I think, with those circlings out on the map, and the Queens do get to reposition in time.
Yes, they do. Scarlett on top of the defenses for the most part, not losing too much more than just some of those overlords, but I think even beyond that, it's just the two overlords that were mostly already out on the map. Fourth base also gets down and established safely there, which is not always a given when there's an Oracle running around rampant, trying to cause some havoc, but Scarlett still gets away with that. Astrea gonna do a very interesting probe scout, which I hope was not a misrally. Is this actually just like a weird probe scout timing saying I'm pulling my Void Ray back, but this probe is gonna scout something.
That probe will scout something. That is actually insane. The little probe that could, and it's gonna see here at least the roach one. It's gonna get picked off now. Yeah, poor thing. Oh, exposed drone.
Yeah, gonna find two more workers in that mineral. That probe scout actually, it almost reminded me of like a. Have you ever played versus the insane AI or things like that, or the easy AI, where it'll just randomly send like a unit or two units, and you're just like, what? Are you trying to attack me with?
Are you an AI?
A sentry and a warp prism? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, that is actually an experience that can be had against the AI. They are something else, except for Alpha Star. Alpha Star was kind of legit.
Yeah. Did you end up beating Alpha Star?
I don't know that I played against Alpha Star, to be honest, but I heard Loco beat Alpha Star.
I actually beat Alpha Star with a cannon rush.
That's amazing. Nice job. Wait, how did you know when you played Alpha Star?
Oh no, it was on the
at BlizzCon?
At BlizzCon.
Oh,
BlizzCon,
that's amazing.
You could play it. Yeah.
Did you beat like the maximum Alpha Star, the top tier?
I don't
version?
know. I basically, they asked me if I wanted a hard one or an easier one, and I just did like the harder one, I guess.
That's cool. Sarah lost to that Alpha Star, I think, at BlizzCon.
Yeah.
That's insane. Ravi, you're just a beast.
I mean, I guess. Sarah will hit me up if you want some coaching. This is going to be a pretty scary attack, actually. There aren't a crazy number of gateway units here, but the warp prism has 8 gateway units that can be warped in at a time. I mean, this is going to be really scary.
Yeah, I mean, all of a sudden, Astrea with a lot of control here out on the map. This little squadron of units has done a lot to catch Scarlett off guard. The Archons already picked off 7 drones, and Astrea manages to save his 4th base as well. He doesn't even need to do too much here, but it looks like he might do it all. I mean, Astrea with a wonderful position, incredible force fields as well, and with that, he is going to take great trades here to start this fight. Now Scarlett is consolidating her army behind those queens as more roaches arrive, and Astrea is going to look to disengage. But yeah, I think that was successful enough if a lot of these units managed to evacuate.
Oh, interesting play there. He actually recalls both Archons survive narrowly at the very end over there. An Immortal might end up going down. That is a costly loss, though. As was the Warp Prism, not directly costly, but just the ability to continue harassing now being lost is definitely going to be a little bit costly.
I gotta say, these games are some of the more difficult to commentate games ever. Like, it's just like the kind of thing where like this little blunders happen like a little bit too much, but the brilliance of the other plays kind of like, you know, like makes up for it in weird ways, where I guess it's just the chaos energy of NA. But yeah, I mean, an Immortal should not be walking into its death like that, needless to say, nor should that Adept. And that Warp Prism was an overextension from Astrea. So if he gained some ground, and I think maybe he could have just turned around and killed that fourth, he kind of ended up giving it all back to Scarlett, to where we have an evenish game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I will say even for NA game, like I think of NA Chaos as being a little bit different than this. I kind of feel like this is maybe not the best version of Astrea that I feel like I've seen in the past, and same thing for Scarlett. Just a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, I would say, coming out for both sides. But this is going to be an interesting situation where there are a handful of these Phoenix outs, just the 3. 12 mutas just popped.
That's
and
big.
Astrea's on Scarlett's side of the map. Is he going to actually see any of the mutas?
Well, he's already got 3 Phoenix and a 4th one on the way.
God.
That's Corruptors now.
Yeah, Scarlett just canceled a bunch of her mutas. She
smart.
had 12 on the way. She canceled 6 of them and made 8 Corruptors.
Yeah, so she's actually going to look to cross the map with Muta and Corruptor. I don't think that she should be exposing the Muta unless she sees the Phoenix committed deeply on the other side of the map. Astrea might just run into them. And this is the thing. It's like you know, you want to be like, yeah, don't run your Immortals into Scarlett, but also, wow, your game sense, right? Like, you're ready for this. And you have no right to be. That's just so brilliant. That's just such great awareness from Astrea. And he's actually going to be able to catch all of this Muta here in the middle of the map. And however, Scarlett was waiting for this Corruptors to push anyway. And now with this Corruptor, Scarlett can push with impunity against this Phoenix. And the Muta are not great in numbers, but on the other side, the Archons and the Immortals are going to get engaged on. They will be shielded from the storm, however.
A lot is going on. I have very mixed emotions right now, Cats, as the Roaches pop off on some of the Archons, but then the High Templars and the Immortals pop off on the Roaches, and then the Mutas come in, but then the Corruptors come in to help save the Mutas against the Phoenix. It has just been really, really hectic in terms of how these armies are trying to trade against each other, kind of piecemeal, one by one. But here I think we finally are seeing Astrea taking some nice or better trades over here, as the Zealots getting a base, and also these Storms on the Roaches doing absurd amounts of damage.
It is a madness. It is chaos. And on the other side, of course, the Corruptors are going to be looking for a Nexus. But that's the Battery Overcharge plus the Stalkers. I don't think the Corruptors can commit to that. So I think they will be falling. And Scarlett is kind of committed to the Nexus. That's a mistake. That's an overextension. That is not cheap units in the Corruptor. And now the Phoenix are free to do whatever they want with the Muta. So Scarlett is going to recognize that, and she's going to remake those Corruptors. Again, that is not inexpensive, right? And it's clear that she wants those Corruptors, as she is going to remake them alongside the Greater Spire. So Astrea with a good advantage right now in terms of army, and Scarlett with kind of useless units being made as well, as far as the ground army of Astrea is concerned. It will not be accounted for. I don't know if there is Baneling speed, but there's certainly a lot of Storm. There is Baneling speed, so that's good. They need to connect, and they won't.
Yeah, although a couple of Banelings do find some of the High Templars, but just enough time for the High Templars to start morphing into Archons. Astrea manages to save quite a few of them and still find value. Stalker reinforcements are going to start overwhelming things, though. Scarlett gonna have to tap out, and Astrea with the fist pump takes the 3-1 victory over Scarlett and moves on to the grand finals.